In this module, we'll discuss why secondary transition assessments are so important to the transition process for students with disabilities. On paper, a student's transition plan might look like the first picture above, but in reality, there are many bumps in the road. We want students to be as prepared as possible for those bumps and challenges in their journey to adulthood. Think back to your own youth. Did your path look like the top picture or the bottom one? We need to anticipate the skills students will need in adulthood and assess their current skills using comprehensive transition assessments so that we can help them prepare for success after high school. Why do we need to assess for a student's SPINs often? Well, we know that a student's strengths, preferences, interests, and needs change frequently as they grow, and the demands of work, education, living, and personal environments change as well. To ensure that we are writing dynamic transition plans, we need to be assessing a student's SPINs often and adjusting their goals and services to meet their individual needs. Effective special educators understand that students with disabilities are complex learners who have unique needs that exist alongside their strengths. Effective special education teachers understand those strengths and needs by using all available data to inform the students' goals, services, and instruction. It's important that special educators understand how to interpret transition assessment data. For their students and families, educators must also be aware of the language, cultural, and socioeconomic backgrounds of their students and families to best meet the needs of the students during that transition process. The process of collecting and using transition assessment data to inform a student's transition plan is a dynamic process. Educators must analyze the effectiveness of their instruction and services and adjust those as needed. It's important that we make direct connections from a student's transition assessment data to the student's post-secondary goals, transition services, course of study, other agency connections, and annual goals on the transition plan to ensure that the plan is data-driven and individualized to the student and not a one-size-fits-all approach or curriculum-driven. Ongoing transition assessment is the cornerstone of the transition planning process. We do not want to assess a student once and then not evaluate the effectiveness of the student's goals and services. This process should be an ongoing one where the special educator is assessing the student's progress and adjusting goals and services as needed. This flowchart shows all the components of the secondary transition plan in the IEP, also known as Indicator 13. Without transition assessments, we can't have an aligned, complete transition plan for a student. Comprehensive transition assessments leads to the development of post-secondary goals, transition services, annual goals, courses of study, and other agency linkages. There should be alignment in all of these components. Think of assessments as lenses through which you see your students in these areas. Each area will contribute to the bigger picture of a student's strengths, preferences, interests, and needs. One of the most important reasons to conduct transition assessments is to help students learn about themselves as part of their preparation for taking an active role in determining post-secondary education, employment, and independent living goals. Annual and ongoing assessments are necessary because we do not just want a snapshot of the student's SPINs. Instead, we want to be skillful in gathering and using ongoing transition assessment data throughout the year to develop a learner profile about and with the student. Think about post-secondary transition planning as the launching pad for a student's adult development. One of the most important skills we can help students develop is decision-making. This requires that they have good information about who they are, what their strengths are, and what supports they need to succeed when they face critical life choices. How do you administer transition assessments? Most transition assessments are informal, such as observations, work samples, curriculum-based measures, functional behavioral assessments, information from families, and other data sources. These data help to create the individualized profile of the student's strengths and needs. It is recommended that educators use guiding questions to help them determine what information they already have about a student and what they still need to assess regarding their strengths, interests, preferences, and needs. The assessment results should be summarized with the student prior to the IEP so that the student can be active participants in the transition planning process. It's also important that the assessment result be explained to families and IEP team members so that everyone understands the student's strengths, needs, and goals. This way, the IEP team can collaboratively support the student in their plan. There is no one-size-fits-all when it comes to secondary transition assessments. It would be easier, but definitely not appropriate. It's important that we, as educators, are aware of what assessments are most appropriate for the students that we support.